Good morning, Narrow Gaugers. This is Rick. This is July 4th of 2020. Happy Independence Day to everyone. So, we had some issues with 58 about a month ago. We did a hydro test and found some water seeping out of a few of the stay bolts on the right side. Thinking we had some broken stay bolts to replace, the cab was taken off, and then we did another hydro test. Well, turns out that there must have been some, uh, maybe when we put water in a boiler or something, some water cascaded down the side of the firebox and then evaporated off the surface but stayed in the holes because we did another hydro test. The boiler was perfectly dry on the outside. We couldn't find anything. Left the hydro on for a while. Nothing seeped out. Fired it up. Nothing. It's been absolutely dry. So chalking that up to a little bit of experience as to, well, let's make sure that, we're careful when we put water into a hydro. Now we're starting the process of putting the locomotive back together. But since I had the cab off, I took it home and made a few modifications to it. And I'll show you what we did here. So when I got the cab done initially, I was kind of in a hurry to get it over here, get the locomotive together, so I really didn't finish up on a few things. One of which was this 3/4 inch by 3 reinforcing bar was not on there, and neither was this half round. So I put those on, and then also finished up rounding off the top corner there, the top of the back doorway. Got that done, and that little piece there, wanted to get that put on, which I had missed out on. Also wanted to add this window. Originally, these cabs had a window there, make it a lot easier. You could see going in the other direction. It's a little bit different design than the original window, but the original one had glass. I don't think we need glass for any reason. Also added this grab iron, which is going to be helpful because you can grab the ladder on the other side, but there really wasn't anything to grab on that side. And also, if you can see it, there's another grab iron up on top that was added. And again, that's to make it a little bit safer getting up on top. Originally, this locomotive did not have this ladder, nor did it have any grab irons up there or any real means to get on top of the locomotive. And we found it every time you run, you got to get up there a few times, putting water in it and changing whistles and doing whatever. So I also came up with a bracket there that you can bolt on so that we can pick the cab up at its center of gravity, and then you add a little bit of weight here on the one side to kind of balance it out. So the plan here is to hang another chain fall off of that bracket up there to give us, because we need a little bit extra height. And then move the locomotive out of the way, pull the cab over into position, pick it up, and then slowly pull the engine under the cab, and then set it down and bolt it on. So this shouldn't be too hard of a job, especially since my help is nowhere today. So this is a one-man job today. It shouldn't take all that long. I'm used to working by myself. But that's the plan we've got going on. You can see right here, all these are marked in white. There was water in each one of these telltales, and of course, as you can see, there's no water coming out of them now. And this thing's had water in it since last week. We fired it up. We did hydro. We did all that. I am 100% confident there's nothing wrong with those stay bolts. It was just water cascading down over the side. Got in there, didn't dry out. The rest of the boiler did, and that's what I noticed. So better than safe than sorry. Checked it out, rechecked it again, turned out to be nothing. This is also a good chance to get a good view of the piping here. This is our 1-inch right side injector. We have this funnel here, so that when you put the injector on, you can look at the discharge, at the overflow, since it's not really conducive to run a pipe down out where you can see it because you've got a foot thick of steel right there. Also got a little bit of a bib cock here, just in case you need a little bit of water back in the cab. We have this pipe which goes to the front end. This is for the whistle in the front corner, and there's also a line that comes off that goes through the mechanical lubricator and then to a steam trap, and that keeps this line clear. Now there's also, you notice there's a T here, not an elbow. That T is in case at some point we acquire a turbo generator or something, a turbine that will go up on top in that area, that we'd have a way to run it. I'm not sure that we'd actually want to do that because it'd be so darn loud, but it's an option that's available. And let's take a look here on the other side. I'll put 3 new Apollo tricocks on. The originals were leaking, and they were all different, so we figured that, you know, for less than $100, I got 3 of them on eBay, where all the good stuff comes from. And this is the left side 3/4 inch Penberthy that also set up the same way with the funnel, and we have the blower heading towards the smoke box, and then your steam injection line, and then your water coming in from the saddle tank. And let's see here, a couple other things going on. This valve goes to the pressure gauge. This one here, and this check valve, is for a nitrogen blanket setup that I have. I've got a nitrogen bottle and a regulator in the building, and a hose that comes over and snaps into this. So basically, when you come in after you run, and the boiler is cooling itself down, all that steam condenses back into water and creates a slight vacuum in the boiler. Well, the boiler will try to suck air back into it. Well, all that water's in there is already deoxygenated, so why would you want to have oxygen get back in the boiler? You don't. So what you do is you allow a little bit of nitrogen to go in there to take that space. Nitrogen, being an inert gas, will make sure that there is no oxygen available inside the boiler to promote any corrosion, especially at the water line. So doing that, you can keep the water in a boiler for long periods of time and be pretty sure that you're not going to have any corrosion on the inside of the shell plates while you're doing it. So it's a real simple thing to set up, and that's something that most people should do with their boilers. One thing to remember, though, is make sure you disconnect this before you pull the engine out of the engine house. Very, very important. Then we have another valve here that I forget what that was. I think I'm gonna reconfigure all this stuff and get rid of this valve. We had something plumbed up a different way, and wanted to change that. And then, since the original turret valve on this locomotive was in pretty bad shape, I changed it and put a flange on with this very nice Pennsylvania Railroad 300 psi gate or globe valve here. So that runs everything a little bit different. Normally there would have been, you know, something big round casting with the valve handle in the top and then pipes coming out radially, but we changed it since that piece was bad on this. Now that's not to mention that someday we might not you know, make a new one to put on here, but this works for now. The shut-off valve and the lubricator line for the steam brake. So this comes down to our steam brake valve, and then out to the cylinders on the in front of, well, basically underneath, in between the cylinders. There one brake shoe on each wheel, so we only have brakes on the front axle, 2 brake shoes on the front axle. because there just isn't any room on the rear end here to put brakes for the rear axle. And finally up there's the gauge that I put in when we were running it last weekend, since normally the gauge is mounted to the cab wall, and that wasn't available. And there's also the steam line, inch and a half steam line going to the bracket for the big whistle. So that's where we put the big whistle up on top, and of course we got the little one up in the front corner. So I'm gonna stop talking now and get busy and get the cab put back on the locomotive and get things ready for an operating session tomorrow.